So, welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight. And yeah, as you can see, Jerry Marzinsky is back, and we are going to talk politics today. And of course, we will also talk what Jerry is expecting from the new administration. And maybe there is even something in it for his field. We will see. So, Jerry, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And in general, I have to say, mm, this new Trump administration feels different. The first time around, it felt a little bit lukewarm at times. This time, he appears to be more determined. The way he is handling the border and, ICE getting the criminals off the streets, that is something that I see as a positive step because in to my mind that was long overdue,
Yes,
and it would be long overdue here as well. I just heard a an interview this morning. And we have 3,400 murderers on the streets. Yeah,
that's what the deep state wants.
yeah.
They're
So,
thrilled with that.
so how do you see that? What he is doing now with the border? Because it is to me, it feels. Of course, I'm on a different continent, but to me, it feels he is really going at it this time.
Oh, he's going at it big time this time. But let's go back to his first administration.
Mhm.
Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman. He's a successful businessman. When he got elected the first time, he didn't know how big, how dirty, and how widespread the deep state was. He had no idea. He had no idea as to the players, who they were, what they stood for. He just he like showed up in enemy territory with a machete, and they were hitting him like a swarm of bees. You know, even the ones that he thought could be trusted. So he didn't know who the players were. You know, he just kept he just got there. He kept getting stabbed in the back over and over again. They kept sabotaging him. They kept you know they didn't. He was like he entered a rat's nest or a bee's nest, and they were hitting him from all over the place. You know, he didn't know who the players were, and yeah, they were giving him advice, and the guys giving him advice were bad players. You know, um, so they pretty much sabotaged him all the way through. Okay, so he got out. They actually put in Biden. So you know, he was an installation, you know, and he was a puppet. He was a total puppet by the deep state. He was being run by the likes of what are those two? The Secretary of State, who's a freaking warmonger. I can picture him, but I forgot his name. And the second one, and the military-industrial complex. So he was totally a puppet. They would tell him how high to jump, and he would do it. And then they started replacing the judges. They were putting in all liberal judges. They went after free speech. The FBI was infiltrated by these deep state scumbags, and they were going after. They were threatening like Facebook. Um, they were uh, confiscating the computers and the personal property of podcasters. Um, they ordered a raid on Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago. Uh, They planted, fake records, all those piles of records you saw, they put them there. You know, Trump had every right to have those because he was president. Um, God, the dogs are going nuts. The little neighbor kid.
Yeah, but I don't hear it.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, I got noise canceling headphones, so that's good. Um, so yeah, they were going after free speech. They completely set up that January 2nd thing where they said it was an insurrection. It was all planned out by Nancy Pelosi and her crowd. What is that? Schumer? Both of them scumbags. I mean, deep state scumbags. They set it up. You could even see the movies of them bringing these people in. Um, what do you call it? The security force for the the police for the White House, actually bringing these people in, opening the gate, bringing them in, bringing them down the halls, you know, and this stuff about this felony, all fake, all run by their deep state judges,
Hmm.
who are paying the price big time right now.
Mm. So,
They're on
so
the
do,
run.
so do you think that it might have been a good thing that he had only a first term and then pause for 4 years? Because, yeah,
Yeah, I
the
think it
termination
was.
is very different.
I think it was essential because the people were not awake. They were still brainwashed. You still had ABC, NBC, CNN running full time, just full time propaganda constantly. You had Soros in the background buying up radio stations and all the garbage. They took over the PBS, the public broadcasting systems. The deep state took that over. They were going after free speech. Anybody who was speaking out against them was visited by the FBI. So what this did is Trump just kind of let it get as bad as it was going to get, and thank God Elon stepped in and saved Twitter because it was the only one of the few mainstream free speech stations that were available, and they went after that big time. Elon moved in there, and it was full of these deep state operatives, all these woke jerks that were running the thing, and he fired them all.
Hmm.
Um, Trump started True Social, which is another free speech platform. They went after both of those, and they couldn't bring them down. Right. So we had free speech platforms that could get the information out to people who were curious enough to um, investigate it. All right. Then we had an organization called Judicial Watch, which is a privately funded by the people of the U.S. It's a legal organization that went after these scoundrels. So it would sue the U.S. government. It would sue all these people that were interfering with free speech. It would. They brought out the what's her name, Hillary Clinton stuff. They're the ones that pulled that out and exposed it. So they were exposing all this scum stuff that the government was doing that the people weren't seeing. So it's privately funded. You guys ought to do the same thing over there. Find some lawyers who are willing to stand up to the government and fund them privately. So the people who were afraid to speak out because the FBI would go after them, they sent money to Judicial Watch, and Judicial Watch would take the government on legally. You know,
Hmm.
so you just told me you have a free speech section in your Constitution. We
Yeah.
did too. So legally, these people are doing by shutting down free speech is against your Constitution. So
Yeah.
what they're doing is illegal.
Yeah, but Jerry, the majority of the people here don't give a shit.
We've been there. Okay, before Trump got thrown out, much of this country was the same way. Okay, so because we had these free speech sites, and we had another thing we had is the people. You know, They would go after some of us. They would shut us down. We would move to another site. We'd be sending email messages to each other to keep each other aware. So they what they call us it was like the underground army or something like that. I mean, we refused to be shut down. If they shut down one site, if they went after one of us, we'd go to another. And they were constantly chasing us all down. And they couldn't stop us because the people were fed up with it. But they were smashing them down. They were shutting down websites. They were confiscating computers. They were arresting people. They were putting them under investigation. And the people were fed up with it. So they'd smash some of us down, and we just moved to another site, and we'd keep the information flowing. We'd keep it going. And more people were waking up. So I think that break between Trump's last administration, where he had no idea how big and how deep the deep state was rooted. They were everywhere. They went all the way down to the city and county levels in the U.S. They had control of the city legislators, the county legislators, even the school boards. That's how deep they were. And the people were getting fed up with it. And, like you'd write to them and it would be like sending a message off in outer space or something. You know. So what had to happen was there had to be that hiatus, that break where Trump let it get as bad as it got. Without, he would speak up against it, but people just got sick of it. They saw where it was heading and how bad it got. They saw that the U.S. was being taken over by these people. They saw how deep it was. They saw how slimy and scheming and conniving these people were. They saw how they stole the election. So they stole that election and inserted Biden. You know,
Hmm.
they inserted all these judges that were liberal judges. Um, you had uh, they stole the state election. They stole the election here in our state in Arizona. So they inserted a governor who immediately opened the border in Arizona, and it was the cities. So they took over the cities first, and all the cities were that's where the majority of the population was. So they turned all these cities liberal, and then the cities started deteriorating. You look now, you go to Denver, and you got all these homeless people all over the streets. The industry is going down. The taxes are going up. All these woke stooges, they're putting all these transvestites in the government. They're putting all these transvestites and weirdos into the armed forces. You had one of these generals was dressed in a dress. I mean, it was friggin' ridiculous what they were doing. Uh, and they were doing that with the school boards also. They were putting we're having trance shows to show the students that they might not be who they think they are. I mean, it got sickening. It was just so bad that the people had to be woken up, and then these free speech stations would start showing up too, and the people started fighting back. That way through information.
Yeah, I think that is a huge part of the problem when you start telling little kids, yeah, you might be a boy, although you are a girl, or the other way around. That is how you confuse their minds. And at that age, of course,
Yes.
they are very vulnerable to that type of propaganda. And yes, it is true during puberty. I mean, all your home hormones are going
Yeah.
wild, and
Yeah. Yeah. And you're
you
already
might
confused.
have a phase where you are not really clear who and what you are, but usually that goes away after a while. And that is why I'm horrified. If somebody is an adult and they want to go and chop off their body parts, do what you want, but don't do it to children.
Right. Now it's illegal. Trump has outlawed that. He's got rid of all those woke organizations. They're gone. They're defunded. He cut off all funding for these what are they called? Government uh
DEI.
yeah, the grant government grants, which
Mm.
is the government grants were bringing up all these people from South America, you know. And since he cut off those grants, I've seen very few chemtrails in our skies. So that was being paid for by the United States taxpayer too. They were about to send before uh, Elon got in there. He caught them sending $500 million to what was it? Some foreign country for condoms. You know, they were they had all these ridiculous things that they were spending money on, and there was no accountability. You know, they just millions and billions of dollars. Look what they sent to Ukraine. Billions and billions of dollars, and the Ukrainian army is virtually wiped out. All
Yeah.
that is now appearing on the underground. Now the gangsters in Mexico, the cartels have uh, heat-seeking missiles. They have machine guns. They have armored personnel carriers. All that is being trafficked all over the world. And then you've got Mr. Greenshirt, who has several mansions over here. He's got a yacht. You know, they're probably going to take him, and if there's anything left of him by the time Trump gets rid of them, they're going to bring him over here and just bail him out of there. You know,
Mm.
that war is already lost. NATO has already lost. They've thrown their best at them, and they couldn't bring them down. So, if if this arrogant Schultz and Macron think they're going to send their armies
Yeah,
into
no, it's
Ukraine,
it's it's not Scholz, it's Merz, the one who is most likely going to be the next chancellor, but I can guarantee you the next administration here will not survive either. Because it's all a big show. Just this week, we had a huge debate in our parliament about, limiting um, the migrant flow, including anybody who shows up without papers is not allowed to come in.
yes, that's essential.
And that was shot down
Oh
in
no,
the
yeah,
parliament. So, and actually, it was
that's a deep
Merz,
state.
Merz and his CDU, they copied it from AfD. And yeah, AfD voted for it, but a lot of people, like 12 or something in the CDU itself, voted against it. And then, of course, SPD and the Greens voted against it as well. And so, yeah, it was shut down. And but here's the kicker. You know, during that debate in the parliament, I watched some of those speeches. They were, throwing dirt at each other like nobody's business. Yeah, the Greens accusing the CDU trying to work with right-wing extremists and what have you. So, but the kicker is the night before, um, high-profile people, including Merz from the CDU and the Greens, were having a party at Mr. Laschet's home, who is also from CDU. So that entire thing in the parliament was nothing but a show. Yeah, and that is what I hate about politics, and that is what many people don't get. What you're seeing is most of the time a show. Because if you saw the speeches, you might have thought, oh, how are CDU and Greens are going to build a coalition? They are at each throat. And no, 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 no. That was for you stupid people out there. That was a great show. And the night before, they were having champagne together. So, yeah.
Well, we had something similar going on with, they call them the Republicans in name only. So
Mhm.
it was like they called it the uniparty. You know,
Uniparty.
it didn't matter, Republican, Democrat, it didn't matter because you had all these FACO Republicans that were in the legislature there who voted with the Democrats all the time, you
Mm.
know. So they would block anything that tried to go through to kind of straighten things out. They would block it, you know.
Yeah.
So, and there was, you know, previously the Democrats held the Senate. Okay, this time around, the Republicans have a very slim margin in the Senate, but they've got it. So we've got the presidency, we've got the Congress, and we've got the Senate. Okay,
Mm.
by a very slim margin, and you still got the rhinos in there. They're still trying to sabotage stuff, but old Elon Musk stepped up and he said, "I'm watching you. You rhinos, if you block the appointments that Trump is trying to get into office, I'm going after you and I'm going to primary you. We're going to run a campaign against you to make sure you don't ever get into office again."
Mm.
And I think that scared a bunch of them. So the people that he's gotten in so far, they're going to wreak hell on the deep state. You know, get
Yeah, we
Cash
will see
Patel.
about that.
Oh, you watch it. It's already happening. I told you they fired the whole seventh floor of the FBI. Everybody. They cut the head off the snake. They fired all the directors all over the United States.
Mm.
Gone.
So, so one thing that irritated me in his first term, during his first term, um, that was when he came up with Operation Warp Speed. Yeah.
I've heard it.
Yeah, that was when the warp speed for the vaccines and on and on and on. Yeah, so and that really,
Well,
really irritated me because
I'm
it.
not I'm
Let
not
me
sure
just
he
finish. Let me just finish because it also meant that it was militarized the entire thing, and I wasn't very happy with that. Plus, this time around. Um, yeah, I sent you this one video with Larry Ellison, and Trump praised him and introduced him as this really, really great guy. But I had a kind of, deja vu. The deja vu was um, it felt similar to the situation with Operation Warp Speed because this guy, Larry Ellison, was praising the technology of AI and that they will personalize for you within 48 hours an mRNA vaccine if you have cancer. And given that many people in the meantime have stepped up and said, maybe we should pause these vaccines. That would be a very good idea because the data is not really promising. So that he is doing that with this guy, I have to say it gives me the creeps.
gives me the creeps too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like it. And there's no defending that, especially in terms of what Musk said, you know, that AI is potentially very dangerous, you
Mm.
know. Um, I don't like that at all. It gives me the creeps. I'm very suspicious of it. I don't know what he's thinking with this mRNA stuff that it's already they've already seen the damage that that could do. You
Yeah,
know, it's
exactly.
it's 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 spooky.
And it's
Um,
it's the same pattern again. I mean, who doesn't know anybody who has suffered or even has died of cancer? Meaning, what they are doing again is playing with your emotions. Yeah. Oh, here we have it, 48 hours. And then this entire thing with the lenses and Oracle and everybody, the police will be on their best behavior, the citizens will be on their best behavior because everybody is monitored 24/7. And then when he said that if somebody calls in to Oracle and says, well, Oracle, I need a bathroom break. Could you please stop recording? And then he said, we tell him, yeah, we will for the next, what do I know, 3 minutes or whatever. And then he said, but we keep recording. We just tell him we don't record you while you are in the bathroom. Um, but the difference is that data can only be acquired with a court decision. Yeah. And I thought that is really disgusting.
See, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, but that was in the same video that I
Yeah,
sent
I
you.
think I missed that, but I'm aware of where Ellison wants to go. I saw that, and
Mm,
like with you, it spooked me.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so I
And
I don't know where that's going. If if Robert Kennedy gets in, I don't think he's going to let that happen. But boy, they are just doing everything they can to
so,
keep him
so
out of there.
he has not been confirmed yet.
As far as I know, he hasn't. There's so much resistance. The pharmaceutical companies are going nuts. So what you got is, um, Shifty Shift took millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. He
Mhm.
was up there just ranting and raving. And then you got the Pocahontas, the one from Massachusetts. She was ranting and raving. They're doing everything they can to keep him out of there. You know, and
Mm,
it's been a fairly furious confrontation so far, but their stand is ridiculous. You
mm,
know, the Democratic deep state stand is ridiculous, and Trump really wants him in there.
mm.
So
I
they've knocked out
yesterday.
two of the people that he wanted to bring in with him. They've already knocked out. So
Mhm.
they do not want him in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we will see how that goes. Yesterday, I read an article. We have this Doge.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's
yeah.
going to really be interesting.
And Elon Musk revealed that the Treasury had automated payments that, there was no longer any oversight. And these automated payments even funded known terrorist groups.
Yes. Yeah, Obama was doing that too.
Hmm.
So the Treasury is very nervous. They did not want him going in there. They did not want to be audited. They did everything they could to prevent it. And uh, Trump said, "No, you have my permission. I want you to go in there, take a look at what's going on."
Hmm.
They're funding all kinds of crazy stuff that's costing billions of dollars, including these chemtrails that they're poisoning everybody with.
Hmm.
You know? So I
So,
think you're going to find a bunch of stuff coming out of there where they're spending money on, like the 500 million they were going to send to some country for condoms. I mean, stupid crap like that.
yeah. So that is one thing with the Treasury, but what I missed from day one when he was campaigning and tried to explain what he's going to do, that the Fed never was on the radar. There never was. We will audit the Fed.
Oh, they tried. They
Hmm.
tried. It got shot down every single time.
Hmm.
Who was it? Bernie Sanders pushed years ago to audit the Fed. They would not allow it.
Hmm.
You know, we don't even know if there's still gold in Fort Knox because they wouldn't allow anybody in there for the last couple of decades. You know, so we don't know. But
Here's my question. How can you know, let's say there is a presidential decree that says not even announce it. They just show up. Here's the presidential decree, and now we are here and we want to see the gold. So how is it possible that they can even say no?
well, they I don't know. You know, I don't know. I'll tell you what, they're a very powerful bunch of people, and Trump butted heads with them just last week.
Hmm.
The Federal Reserve, you know, so they just print money out of nowhere, so they've got unlimited funding to fight back. You know, and Trump said, "Listen, all the other major countries are lowering their interest rate. We need to also." So he told Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, lower the interest rates. And Powell basically said, you know, we're not part of the government. You can't order us to do anything because they are a private bank.
Yeah,
Even
I
though it
know.
says
I know. Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
so they're arrogant as all get out. You
Yeah.
know, and they're very powerful. They got tons of money, but Trump wants to get rid of them. He wants to get rid of them totally. You know, he wants the people in control of their own money. You know, he wants them out of there. So they're resisting everything. But I think sooner or later, um, you know, this monetary system is on its way out. You know,
Mm.
it's crashing. Uh, Inflation is at an all-time high. We got businesses over here going out of business right and left also. You know,
Yeah.
all these small shops that used to be, they're all gone. You know, COVID polished off a lot of them. And then that buzzard puppet Biden, you know, puts out a blanket pardon for these scumbags, which is absolutely disgusting. You know, so I think that's going to be challenged because he's forgiving people for crimes that they're not even charged with.
Yeah,
It doesn't
that
even
that
make
was
any
weird.
sense.
That was really
It
weird. But I think,
makes no sense.
but I think, well, let's put it this way. Do you think that that was really Biden's idea, or was he just
No,
the
that
one
was
who
the
put the signature under it?
yeah, that's right. He was just, and it's very clear that it's been exposed that Biden would sign anything put in front of him by Blinken and this other character in the military industrial complex. You had Milley in there who was a part of the deep state. He was in, he, he got thrown out of there. So it's good. He got fired. His protective, you know, so what they did is Trump took away the security for um, you know these bad actors. He took it away from Milley. He took it away for Fauci. You know, he said, you know, we're no longer going to protect you. And Fauci's got a lot of enemies. You know, Trump
Mm.
said you hire your own security force. We're not doing that. He did it for Milley. Um, I, I I I don't know if Milley's going to get away with it. There, I've heard talk about them uh, bringing him back onto active service and then court-martialing him. So I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Trump is not going to let them get away.
Yeah.
He's going to do something.
What was the quarrel that Vivek Ramaswamy yeah
Okay,
departed from Dole?
what that was about? That's too bad that happened. You know, um, there were two things that happened. Is one uh, Visa? What Vivek said was um, it was a comment about with regard to Israel. You know, he said yeah, some pretty brutal things about the Palestinians. Just something to the effect of wipe them out and just get them out of there, and that belongs to Israel, and they're terrorists, all this kind of stuff, which didn't go well with the Israelis at all. Okay. Second thing that happened is Vivek was saying we ought to deport all of the illegals. You know, and uh, what's his name? Elon was saying, no, keep the ones who are highly skilled and highly educated and can be useful here.
Hmm.
He said, we want those kind of people here. And I think Vivek stood up and said, no, they're all illegal. They all got to go. You know.
Yeah, I don't know how it is in the United States, but here in Germany, the illegals that are coming in, 70% of them can't read or write even in their own language. So there are no rocket scientists coming over. And is that even a margin of, skilled people that is, worth mentioning or
Now, what they're trying to do is eliminate your national identity as Germans. They
mm.
don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
a
yeah,
group,
sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
and that's what they were trying to do to us. You had the Chinese paying for these people to come up here. They were running these stations along the thing. Those people didn't get up here on their own. They needed food, they needed water, they needed transportation. They were filling the trains. They were on the roof of all the trains. There were convoys of thousands of them all coming up at the same time.
Yeah. But did many people, many skilled people come to the US
Oh,
as
there were
illegals?
some. You have people that were like bricklayers and carpenters and um, you know, th- people who would be useful. But there were a lot where they were just you know immigrants. They just wanted out of their own country. The other thing that was happening was you had child trafficking, child and human trafficking at a astronomical scale. I mean, it
Yeah.
was beyond belief. You had like 100,000 kids that showed up, and all they had to have was an address to go to. So when Trump got in, they found 75,000 of them. But you still have hundreds of thousands of kids that are taken by human traffickers and satanic groups and adrenochrome generators and all this kind of stuff. I mean, the United States was complicit with the biggest child trafficking operation on the planet.
Mm.
Trump stopped that. I think he said that these people will be punished with a death sentence now.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Um,
then as far as the fentanyl coming into the U.S. too, from
mhm.
both Canada and Mexico. That's part of this 25% tariff that he put up. He said, you stop that or you're 25% tariff. He's also
Okay.
sent the military to the border, also fully armed, to help the border patrol.
Yeah.
They've now sealed off the border pretty well.
Okay. So we talked about VVAC, but recently I also saw a statement by Trump himself saying uh, Gaza should be emptied out. It's time to move on and resettle them elsewhere. Several Arabic states said, yeah, nice try. That is not going to happen. But I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, if the shoe were on the other foot, if somebody came to you and said, yeah, Jerry, we know you love your house and you have been here many decades, but you know what? We need it for other purposes and it's time to go get your stuff and get
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I
It
know.
doesn't sit well with me.
That doesn't sit well with me either. But Israel has one of the most powerful lobbies
Mm,
in the U.S. Congress that there's ever been. Matter of fact, I heard that they had every Republican legislator had an Israeli representative that was following him around to make sure they didn't do anything against the Israeli state. They have lots of money, you
hmm.
know, and they get a lot of it from the military-industrial complex, and they pay these uh, people that follow around the legislatures really well. And also they buy off the legislatures over here too. So anybody who goes against this Israeli lobby is in trouble, you know. And
So we
uh,
still have a deep state.
you still have that going on, you know,
Mm,
but Israel's getting, they've gotten a bloody nose out of this last one. They're not now just fighting these, guys with AK-47s. They're fighting people who can pinpoint their military bases, take out their infrastructure, take out their electrical generating plants. You know, and they're not putting up with this anymore. You know, so the, the it has drastically changed from here on out. Now I hear that Trump isn't really enamored with Netanyahu. He doesn't like him, but he's still supporting the Israeli state. Now, that may be partly because of the political prowess of the Israelis over here. There's a lot of Jewish people here, and they've
mhm,
got a lot of money and a lot of power, you know.
mhm,
And I think at one point he said something to the effect that uh, the Israelis could have derailed his presidency.
mhm,
So you're right. There's still an Israeli deep state here that is in bed with the Israelis over there and pushing this stuff like, yeah, clear out Gaza, get the Palestinians out of here. But the stuff they're doing, it's like genocide. I mean, they'll bomb an entire, apartment complex and kill everybody just to get one bad guy in there. I mean, it's a slaughter. What they're doing is just inhumane.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it
I
is.
think they need to be reeled in, and that bothers me about Trump. He's not doing it. Although, it's good to see that Netanyahu is not in his favor. He's got a lot of bones to pick with not Netanyahu.
Mm,
He wanted that stuff stopped. Netanyahu completely blew him off. He said, "No, we're going to do what we want to do," which I think infuriated Trump. So it's a pretty complex situation, and the Israeli uh, faction over here is very powerful.
yeah. And honestly, the more you read about this entire situation there in the Middle East, and you know how long it has been going on and
Yeah,
how
for
old
thousands of
it is,
years they've been fighting forever.
and oh my goodness,
A mess.
it's it's really not easy to come up with a good solution that
Yeah,
serves everybody. There is, I mean, Hamas is also not a reliable partner. I mean, we shouldn't fool ourselves. Um, I have sympathy for the plight of the Palestinians, but one thing that people like to forget, any and all funds that go to Gaza go through Hamas.
yeah,
And they keep the bulk for themselves. They have, the five-star hotels in other countries, and they live in Dubai and here and there. And yeah, the peanuts are for the people.
yeah,
Because if that money that over the decades that has gone to Gaza could be, yeah, a wonderful place.
yeah,
Really.
yeah. Oh, yeah, they're taking it. I think that's going to stop. I
Yeah,
think that's
I
going to
hope
stop
so.
cold. He Trump has cut off, all foreign funding except for Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
So there you go again. Same thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
Israel's the favored state. They're going to keep getting funding. They're going to keep getting support. Um, But yeah, I know Trump is pissed off with Netanyahu. He doesn't like what he's done. He doesn't like what he's doing.
Mm,
But
yeah, but
Netanyahu's,
then chiming in and saying empty out Gaza is not really
yeah,
helping. Yeah.
no. So it's a mess, like you said. It's a complex mess. But friggin' Obama was sending money straight to the terrorists themselves.
mm,
You know, and they're bringing that out now. I mean, the amount of garbage that the Bushes were doing and Obama was doing and Clinton was doing, it's just pouring out now. I mean, it's just come. It's like it started off as a trickle. Now it's like the dam is breaking, and the people are becoming aware now that Trump has released the JFK records, and I think the Trade Center stuff. That was all done by the deep state. You
mm.
know, all of that is going to be coming out.
Yeah, but what they released about MLK, that was really, you know, okay, I didn't know him personally, of course, but if you read what they released about MLK, then that was more or less like Puff Diddy, yeah, having freak offs.
Well, one thing I read that article, you don't know where it came from. Okay,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
are no names there. There are
I
no names
know.
mentioned in that report that you can follow up with to see if that were true.
Mm. Hmm.
You know
Hmm.
that
Yeah, but
and the
still
see
they
this.
released it.
Well, they released it, but there's no way to verify that it's true. You
I
know,
know. Um, but shouldn't you know,
see, I don't
if
trust
you
this.
if you do such a thing and you release the files, shouldn't you make sure that the files that are being released, are coherent and make sense
Well,
and do not sound like a, yeah, really bad.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But you still got these deep state operatives in the
Mm,
FBI.
mm,
Trump only cut the head off just the day before yesterday. They're still there, you know. They're still there. So you probably had one of them release that thing. There's no way to verify it. They're still there.
yeah.
He's going to be going after them. But boy, to fire the whole seventh floor of the FBI, everybody, secretaries, administrators, the head guys, and then taking the protection away from the head of the FBI also, and then firing the head of the FBI and all these offices all over the U.S. And now he plans to break up the FBI and empty that building, turn it into a museum, and put these guys out all over the U.S. where they are actually doing what they're supposed to do. So they can't ever congregate into a powerful force like they have been now, kind of threatening the populace and arresting people for bullcrap and even going into the president of the United States home, setting things up there. I heard they even took one of Melania's pair of underwear. They took that. You know, these people are scum. They're scum.
Yeah, who knows what they are doing with that.
No telling. You know. But yeah, I think their thing has come to an end. I'm waiting to see what happens with the um, Department of Justice because they're another one that need to be cleaned out. So we still have some nominees that boy they are just fighting tooth and nail to keep those people out. You know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
thank
we don't have that here. That, once you win the election, you pick the people that you want, and then that's it. There is no hearing.
yeah. Well, that's kind of good and bad.
Yeah, I
You know.
know. I know. It,
But
it, it always has a good and a bad side. Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, one thing that I got to hand it to Elon coming up and saying, all you traitors in there who block, the people of the United States have spoken. They want you people out of there. They want things changed. We want to make sure that Trump gets the people he needs to work with in there. And Elon said, you turncoats, you vote against these nominees, and I'll see you don't win another election in the United States.
Hmm.
And he will.
You know, the FBI has been a very strange organization for so many years.
all the way back to Hoover.
When it was the 30th anniversary of Waco, I looked back into that, and yes, David Koresh was a nut job. I agree. But what they did there, that was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it was disgusting. And also with the one guy who was out in the wilderness, they killed his wife and him and everybody. You
Yeah.
know, they were out of control. They were freaking
Ruby
out
Ridge,
of
yeah.
control. Ruby Ridge, they're
Mm,
out of control. You
yeah.
know, they were like getting off on their egotistical stuff. I think that has come to an end now.
Yeah, let's hope.
Oh, if Trump stays in there, if they don't kill him, you know, which they're going to try to do, they're going to continue to try that. You know?
Yeah, okay, but in that case, you have JD Vance.
Yes, and J.D. Vance will take over. You know, so Trump picked
So,
Vance very carefully.
mm, and theoretically, the next 12 years could be Trump, JD Vance, JD Vance.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
So we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel now for the first time. I mean, the the nation here is elated, you know, except for the you know, the Democratic people who are they're three sheets to the wind. They're just blind. They don't realize they've been brainwashed by the mainstream media. And the other thing that's happening that I love is the mainstream media is going down the tubes. CNN has
Yeah, I
just
know. And
the
MSNBC, yeah.
MSNBC is gone, and now this what is it? The View with all these, you know, left-hand radicals like uh, you know, that black lady, what's her name?
Whoopi.
Whoopi Goldberg. She's being sued 10 times from Monday. I mean, she's, you know, millions of dollars, and the rest of them are being sued. The stations are being sued for bold-faced lies, and
Yeah, Sunny Holston,
yeah, yeah,
husband, he
yeah,
has been arrested.
yep, they're going down the tubes. You know,
Mm,
nobody's listening to them anymore. They know what they are. You know, and all these small stations like Tootsie News and um, you know, what is it? I forgot the names of them, but they're springing up all over the place now. It's the
mm.
people are the news. You know, they broadcast. You still got YouTube that is kind of censoring stuff. You even mention the vaccine on YouTube, and they'll ban it. You know, and here they go with, oh, we're going to do whatever the World Health Organization says. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do now that Trump has withdrawn from the World Health Organization. No, he withdrew from the WHO or the World Economic Forum, I think, right?
No,
Or
the
was it
Who.
the WHO? Okay. It's going to be interesting to see what happens now that he's withdrawn from them. Hopefully they friggin' collapse those bunch of scumbags. They were behind this
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I know. I
you know.
know.
And Fauci, that guy's got to go. They can't let him off.
Yeah.
What was it? 30 bioweapons labs they found in Ukraine. You know, the Russians have every right to be pissed off. They have every right. The Ukrainians have been bombing Donbass and they're killing their Russian citizens for 10 years, and the Russians have been complaining to you know, the world for 10 years, and they haven't done anything. You know, so Russia said, finally, you know, you're building weapons labs on our border. If they were building it on our border, we certainly would have done something about it.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but of
Of
course, all
course.
that's hidden by the mainstream media. They don't bring that up. They just go, "Oh, Russia's the aggressors." Russia never wanted that. They never wanted that war. You know, they sent those troops in to begin with, saying, "Listen, we're serious. We want you to stop this stuff. We don't want NATO at our borders." You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
they had every right
if
to do what
Russia
they
did,
did.
remember when Russia wanted to
Join
you
NATO.
when Russia wanted to place missiles on Cuba,
Oh yeah, yeah.
The world was on the brink of World War
Right.
III.
Right. And that was
Yeah.
Cuba. So here you have these weapons labs on their border plotting to release these diseases into Russia. Russia has every right to do what they did. And the mainstream media has been covering it up, going, "Oh, Russia invaded Ukraine and they're barbarians, and look at all of what they're doing." It's ridiculous. You know, Putin has been so patient. It is incredible. He could have taken out every military base in Germany and Britain with those horrific missiles. They just wipe out a whole city block. He could have
Mm,
done that if he wants to. He knows that NATO's been fighting in there. He knows that he's fighting NATO. They captured NATO officers. They blew up bunker after bunker after bunker full of NATO generals. You know, and who's paying for these mercenaries? The deep state. That's going down the tubes. So all these mercenaries paid for by with U.S. fundings, that's off the table now. You
mm,
know, Trump is going to cut off all support for Ukraine. There's no military support going over there at all.
mm.
Although I did see that they're still training Ukrainian F-16 pilots, but there's so few of them. And it takes at least a year to train each pilot. And that's just basic. That's just the basics. It's not you're not a you know
So
Ukraine
on,
has lost that war long ago.
yeah. So on the issue of the tariffs, oh, there are very, very different takes on that. Do you know Mises Institute?
No.
Have you heard of them? Interesting website, has a lot to do with economy and so and so some people are saying tariffs will be Trump's downfall. One of the reasons is that, this idea we cancel the income tax and we do everything via tariffs, the numbers do not add up. Plus, now he has slapped tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada.
Hmm.
They are already retaliating. And then Canada said, yeah, especially Ontario said, yeah, well, you know what? We are no longer going to sell your booze here
And we're
because
cutting off your
Canada,
whiskey. You're gonna
yeah,
hurt. We're cutting off your whiskey. You're done.
yeah, because Canada is, yeah, a big buyer of American booze, and
Well, and vice
also,
versa too.
yeah, and then Canada also is delivering a lot of oil.
And electricity.
Yeah. So wouldn't that mean that, um, let's say, I don't know how they will react in detail. We will see that. But let's say Canada says, you know what? With your tariffs, we are going to sell our oil and our stuff as Russia did. Basically, we're just going to sell it somewhere else. Wouldn't that mean that prices go up in the US?
Yes, prices will go up for oil and electricity. So it's going to hurt both countries if it comes through.
Mhm,
Okay, so Trump's stance is, listen, you're allowing migrants to come through Canada to our borders. Okay,
mhm,
you're allowing fentanyl to come through the borders. You're
mhm,
not stopping that either. And on top of that, we're paying tariffs to you. You're not paying tariffs to us, kind of thing.
mhm,
So I think, you know, it would hurt both countries, but I think it would hurt Canada more because
mhm,
who are they going to sell their oil to? Whoever they have to bring freighters from across the ocean, to bring. We're their best source of sales. You know, it's going to
Uh,
be it's going to cost a whole lot more to buy Canadian oil than it would be to buy Russian oil or um, oil from Syria or some. They don't have a ready market anywhere else, and it would cost a whole lot more. They'd have to sell that oil a whole lot cheaper to compete with those markets where the oil's actually being, you know, drilled for. Okay?
mm,
So you got that going on. So what I suspect will happen is Trump will stick to this, and then if Canada says, okay, we're gonna stop the migrant flow into the U.S., we're gonna stop the fentanyl, and we will pay some kind of tariff that matches the tariffs, or we will get rid of both tariffs from both countries. You know, I think they'll probably work out some kind of deal because it's not good for the U.S. either. Energy prices would go up. The car industry would probably go down. Electricity would be more expensive, and Canadian liquor would no longer flow into the United States. So
yeah. Oh, okay. That wouldn't be the worst thing. But and I can understand that, the government wants to stop the fentanyl and all of that. But, you know, there's also a border on the other side,
right, same thing
meaning,
is happening there. But what's more difficult there is that Mexico is a
no, no, what
cartel-run
I mean,
country.
why is the US not controlling more?
Well,
Canada sending the fentanyl in or allowing it to come in. That is one part of the story. But why is the US not stopping it?
Well, keep in mind that Trump has only been in office for a short period of time now. Now they can't go into Canada with military
No,
force and
once
stop it.
you are over the border, they have every right to stop you.
You know how big that border is? It's
Yeah,
massive.
I know. I
You know,
know.
and most of it is wilderness.
Yeah.
Okay, so those
So they
people,
are all going through the wilderness?
no, well, a lot of them are, but you
Mm,
got the where they're coming from is from the east coast of Canada. They're coming in through the ports. You know, that fentanyl's coming in on ship. You know, it's coming in via, uh, it's coming in from Mexico via ships and trucks, and that it's coming in through the populated areas of Mexico. You know, they're not flying airplanes across the U.S. to bring it into Canada.
mm.
Now, so they have to control their ports. They
Yeah.
have to start searching these ships and all this stuff coming into Canada with these big boxes full of fentanyl. They can do that. You know, now Mexico's a different story because it's a narco-run state. I mean,
Yeah. The
that Mexico
cartels
is run,
run
but
this
they're
country.
they're run by the cartels.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Matter of fact, just the other day, one of the cartel members was firing shots at a border patrol officer, and
Yeah.
they returned they returned the fire. So Trump has made them a foreign terrorist organization. Okay.
Mm,
Now, I wouldn't put it past Trump to say, Mexico, you either clear these guys out or we're going to come in and get them.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, there's also the other side. A lot of people say, you know what, with the tariffs, then you are heading towards trade wars. And sometimes it's a small step from a trade war to a hot war. You know what I mean?
I don't think there's going to be a hot war with either Canada or Mexico.
No, he wants
You
it to be the 51st state.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
And
mouthful.
and you know what? I work with people in Canada, and they said, yeah, we like the idea. You know, so rather than dealing with Trudeau up there, they're sick of Trudeau. The average
He
person up
stepped
there,
down.
well, he stepped down, but he's still there. So
Yeah, yeah, I
the
know.
guy
But
the guy taking over is more like a Trump-like guy.
mhm,
You know, he's much more reasonable than frickin'
yeah.
Trudeau. But you still got the scumbags in there in the
Yeah.
parliament.
Yeah, I don't doubt that there are some Canadians who said, yeah,
Oh,
we
there's a
would
lot of
like that,
Canadians.
but I'm
They
not so sure if that is representative for the entire country.
Oh, I'm sure it's not. But there's the ones I've talked to, they like the idea. It's like, yeah, let's get rid of Trudeau. If there were no border, there was no trade thing there. You know, I think our Constitution is a lot better than theirs, and their military force is nothing. Buying a Black Hawk helicopter is a big deal for them. It's like they they really don't have a significant military force. If Russia or China wanted to walk in there, they could just walk in. I mean, there was nothing really to stop them.
Mm,
They don't have a significant military or air force. You
mm,
know, so Trump's saying, "Listen, we're paying for your protection. You know, you need to contribute." And he told them earlier, it says, if you're part of NATO, you need to be paying your fair share. And the Canadians are paying like 1.5% of their GDP to NATO. They're way behind. They're on the bottom of the scale, and they've been getting away with it. Just like Mexico. If prior to Trump, if anybody invaded Mexico or Canada, that would be a declaration of war. You know, I don't think he would stand by if they did that, but he would probably let them cause quite a bit of damage before he stepped in.
mm,
To wake him up, just like he did with us. After his first term, he let all that stuff happen. He didn't try to oppose it. He just exposed it. So it's like, okay, wake up. Look at where the country's going. Look at what these people are doing. Look at they're opened your borders. They're filling your country with scumbags and criminals and mentally ill people. They're destroying your cities. And all these woke people, in the different states that are still saying, "Oh, we're a sanctuary city and we're not going to stop it." And the guy that Trump put in for to get rid of these people, he said, "Then you will be arrested and jailed also." And
mm,
here's this guy in Colorado going, "Oh yeah, well I'd do that. That's all right. I'll get arrested to stand up for my principles of letting all these scumbags into my city." I've been up to Denver a year or two ago. It was just full of these people camped out on the streets. You know, you could smell the marijuana in the air. They were all smoking dope. They had no jobs. They were camped in tents on the main streets, in the back alleys. I mean, these people are destroying these. In San Francisco, there's needles all over the streets. These people are crapping on the sidewalks.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's a mess. And this is what these scumbags want. These sanctuary city guys. The sanctuary city guy in New York, the mayor, has finally woken up. He said, "Okay, we're going to start deporting the criminals." You know, and we want this. He's woken up, but they're fighting against him. So any of those scumbags that refuse to deport these criminals, and why would you not want that to happen, are going to be arrested.
Mm, mm.
So things are looking brighter over here. But like you said, with this MRA stuff and that Larry guy who's talking, that's disturbing.
That is highly disturbing. And I'm not trying to say Trump is the devil. And I also found all of these comparisons to Hitler and what have you.
Totally ridiculous.
That was so out of touch and over the top.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, we everybody needs to be
aware.
vigilant. Yeah,
Yes, I agree.
there is no room for leaning back. We have a saying here in my country, and if you translate it, it says, "If you fall asleep in a democracy, you will wake up in a dictatorship."
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Now, did you send that Larry Ellis thing to Sherry
Ye-
Sweeney?
No.
Oh, send it to her. She's got a wide network where she will get it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she's always vigilant for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was really something where I thought, oh, I'm having a deja vu. That feels like it's a warp speed operation all over again. And
Well,
And then with Oracle and everybody is being monitored 24/7. No,
No, no.
sorry.
It's like,
Sorry. And
so
and 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 that is what I don't get. On the one hand, he sometimes has really, I'm talking about Trump here. He has really good ideas and he does what needs to be done, and then he comes in
well,
with
the first
nonsense.
thing with the vaccines, he pushed it, but he didn't push it real hard. He felt like, okay, you can take it if you want to, but politically, they had a gun against his head.
Yeah.
They were so powerful. He could not refute the vaccines, so he kind of kept quiet about it and let it happen. But politically, if he would have stood up against them, they would have gutted him right there. That would have been the end.
Mhm. Yeah, but
I
that
remember,
he is, after all the studies that came out, after everything that we know now, that he is again going with a guy that is promoting the mRNA
well,
for
let's see.
cancer this time. That I
Well, they
really,
have a cure for cancer. They killed everybody who tried to get it out there.
of
Okay,
course,
so
you can kill cancer in a different way. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
so it's interesting. So you got this Larry Ellis thing, but then you got him doing everything he can to get Robert Kennedy in there,
Yeah,
who wants no part of that kind of crap. You know.
yeah, yeah. We
So
will
we'll have to
see. We
we'll
will
see.
see if Robert will come in, yes or no. And then we will see if Robert and Larry Ellison are going at each other.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then, this Stargate project that is with Larry Ellison, that is part of the so-called Stargate project. Have you ever seen the TV series Stargate
Stargate. Yeah, yeah. I,
SG-1?
I I hear they have that. I hear it actually exists.
Yeah, be that as it may, I don't know. But one thing is for sure, a lot of nasty things came through the
Yes.
Stargate.
Uh,
Yeah.
same thing. I heard the same thing with the CERN.
Mm,
A lot of nasty things came through there.
yeah. So do you think that in your field, to wrap this conversation up, do you think that in your field that you have worked in, there will be positive steps taken as well?
You mean in psychology and
Yeah.
psychiatry?
Hmm.
I think the majority of the field is totally asleep. I think the wave of the future is the Mace energy method, which
Yeah.
actually works. I mean, I've seen hundreds of clients. This method is so simple and so powerful. It will get rid of trauma in an hour. And I feel so sorry for some of these women and guys. They're 75 years old or 80 years old. Something happened to them when they were 6 or 7, and they made a decision that I'm worthless, I'm stupid, and they've lived with that decision their entire lives. And it takes an hour to get rid of it. Of
Mm.
course, they're not going to promote this, you know, but I think that's the future of psychology. The Mace energy method. You want to learn more about it, go to causisminstitute.com. That's CAUSISM institute.com. And Mace also wrote 2 books on it. He wrote Energy Over Mind and the book Causism. That's from with John Mace. This, as far as I'm concerned, this is the future of psychology and psychiatry. If this catches on, psychiatry is going to go down the drain. Not to say that they're totally useless, because there are some people that I've worked with, if they weren't on some of these psychiatric drugs, I could not even reach them. And
Hmm.
then you got prisoners that are so dangerous that without these psychiatric drugs, basically they're major tranquilizers, that they would wreak havoc within the prisons. And same way within the mental hospitals. Some of those guys are so far out there and so dangerous and so crazy that they need these drugs. But the majority of the population, those drugs are damaging with long-term use. They rot out your brain and turn it into what looks like a shrunken walnut. They found that with long-term people and patients in the mental hospitals. They did autopsies on them, and their brains were shrunk like walnuts. And then the deep state psychiatric mafia goes, "Oh, it's not our drugs." And Big Pharma's going, "Yeah, it's not our drugs." So these researchers who weren't associated with Big Pharma started giving these drugs, these antipsychotic drugs, to monkeys and rats and mice, and found that with long-term use, their brains were shrunk like walnuts too. So with
Mm.
long-term use, these nasty drugs with these nasty side effects do permanent neurological damage to these patients. And of course, they're not told that. They're not told about that. You know, in all the years I've been working with psychiatry, they don't tell the patients that. They wait until they start showing those neurological symptoms, and then they might withdraw it. But what they did in the state hospital is they administered cogentin to cover up those neurological symptoms, that akinesia, the shaking, the tongue darting, all that kind of stuff. They would cover it up and continue giving these mental patients these drugs until their mind was completely rotted out. Those drugs are toxic. The side effects of those drugs are the effects of being poisoned. And the voices, the schizophrenic voices, are telling schizophrenics that they are being poisoned by the psychiatrists. So psychiatrists have one of the highest assault rates by schizophrenics of any of the doctors that work with schizophrenics. You know, they, because of that, you know, the voices that these schizophrenics hear are not hallucinations. You know, they run very fixed patterns, and anything that runs patterns is not a hallucination. And yet they're still teaching that in the universities. So
Yeah.
you can go to my website at jerrymarzinsky.com, go to articles, and you will see a list of 23 of those repetitive patterns. See it for yourself. Anybody working with schizophrenics or psychotics can look and see them there. They're right there in front of their eyes. And that goes for psychiatrists too. Go look. If you look for these patterns, you will see them. And if they're running patterns, they're not hallucinations. Hallucinations are random. So this biochemical imbalance stuff is another lie put out by Eli Lilly, a drug company, to sell their drugs back in the 70s. It caught on, and then the universities started teaching it. It's been debunked long ago, and they're still pushing it. So, you know, psychiatry is one of the most corrupt branches of medicine, one of the most devious, devastating, nasty branches of medicine that I've ever seen.
Yeah. I really wish that um they are not only maize, there are very interesting branches of medicine opening up, including sound healing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I really wish that we would put more effort, more funding into those fields and see how far we can come with it.
yeah,
And instead of the way, yeah, how we have done it for many, many decades. But of course, it is always a question of money as well.
right. And who controls the money?
Yeah.
You know, the AMA, which was taken over back in the what 40s, you know, with the Rockefellers. They
Mm.
took it over. They made any other form of treatment illegal except for pharmacological drugs. Right.
Yeah.
So they have the money. The AMA has the money. The big pharma controls the journals. They control what's taught in the universities. So it's going to be an uphill battle. They don't want stuff like MACE going out there. They don't want sound healing going out there. They wanted everybody to believe that, you know, drugs and medicine are the only valid treatment there is, and everything else is a bunch of hogwash. So it's going to be a big uphill battle, and there won't be a lot of funding for these other kinds of therapies for a good while. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, we would see. I mean, we are living in interesting times, and
Ve-
sometimes
very
disruption
interesting.
can happen very, very quickly. And the way we have done medicine, I think it is time to for a big reform in
Oh
general.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, we will see where we are going. I hope for the best because there are really interesting fields out there.
Well, you could help out by, going to these sound healer guys and interviewing them and
Yeah.
getting that information out,
Mm.
to the public that this does exist because it's not going to come through the mainstream media channels at all. They don't want it out there.
I have done an interview with a sound healer
Good.
a couple of years ago. But if you scroll way down, yeah, you will see that sound
Yeah,
healer.
keep it up because the people need to be aware, and these big pharma, they control the advertising. And here in the U.S., I know it's illegal over there. Here in the U, you turn on the TV and it's the drug advertisement after drug advertisement after drug advertisement. And sometimes it's only like, oh, these people smiling and having a good time, and they go, oh, ask your doctor about xylophone or some weird drug. They don't even say what it does.
Mm.
you know. So it must work. They must have people going to their doctor and go, "Hey, tell me about xylophone or whatever." Otherwise they wouldn't spend all that money doing it. But yeah, they're way too out of control over here. The drug companies, the deep state drug companies, are ridiculous.
And what I also find is that the advertisement on TV, especially in the United States, my goodness, it's more or less all about some drugs.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
sickening.
yeah, okay, you have cars and beer and what have you in between, but can't we stop that?
Well, it should be made illegal, like with you guys. And it's such a scam. They wonder why medical costs are so high here. You go, to stay sane in the United States with some of these antipsychotic drugs, it costs $800 to $1,000 a month. Okay,
Hmm.
they're very expensive drugs. Somebody's got to pay for it. If it's not the insurance
And
companies,
and they
it's the
produce
government.
it for $10 or what?
Well, they produce it for a lot less. So you can go across the border in Mexico and
Hmm.
get these same drugs over the counter
Hmm.
for $75. Now you can visit a psychiatrist if you want, and he'll say, "Okay, I diagnose you this. I recommend you take this drug or that drug." But you don't have to go back to him to get that drug again. You can go into the pharmacy and just buy it over the counter. These are not abusable drugs. Nobody likes them. Anybody who takes them hates them. The side effects are awful. But the psychiatrists here in the United States, they clutch on to those drugs like that's their lifeline you know so they charge a whole lot more for office visits to get these drugs, and they tell you that there is no other treatment for schizophrenia. It's a lifelong sentence, which is a blatant lie, and that there is no other treatment for it than their drugs, which is another lie. you
Hmm.
know so that's why the cost is so high, and a lot of times those drugs are made by the same companies but are rebranded, and they're in Spanish. you know so,
Hmm.
and they've made it illegal to bring those drugs that cost less back across the border into the U.S.
Hmm.
So people have to smuggle them in,
Yeah.
and they're
Here
doing
we
it.
go again. Smuggling the drugs.
Yeah, but these are
Oh.
these are useful medical drugs. But the pharmacological people, they're out of control here. They're
Hmm.
totally out of freaking control. They come up with a drug for everything. They control the airways. They've paid off Congress 10 ways to Sunday. They bought all these legislators to make laws to benefit their industry.
Hmm.
They're out of freaking control.
Yeah.
That, that's another thing. They got to get Robert Kennedy in there to start reeling these people in. And I'm sure they're spending multi millions of dollars to make sure he doesn't get into office. So that ought to be happening in the next few days. We'll find out whether they succeeded or not.
Yeah. Yeah. We will see. Yeah, I wish you all the best, and we will observe it from here.
Well, very,
What is
very
going
exciting
on?
times. There's a lot of good things happening over here.
Yeah.
We're 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 we're,
And
we're
be
very excited.
vigilant with that Stargate stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's disturbing. I have to admit that's disturbing.
Mm. Yeah, it is. and keep an eye out for that. And but I thank you for coming and being my guest again.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's always good to talk to you.
Yeah, and yeah, we will see you on the next one, guys. And that was it for today.
Okay.